Hi everyone, welcome to our newest edition of Summer School. I'm Ashley Ross with Victory Fiduciary, and I'm so excited that today I'm sitting here with Gina Romano. So Gina is a local realtor in Mullica Hill. She has actually been in the business for over 18 years, and then 3 years ago in 2019 actually started her own brokerage right here in Mullica Hill. And we thought that it would be really beneficial for investors and our clients to be able to have a discussion just about kind of what we have been seeing in the real estate market and kind of get an expert's opinion on, where we are, where we may be heading, and just kind of trying to unpack a lot of what we've kind of seen happen over these last 18 months. And, I know when we talk with our clients, a lot of times their real estate portfolio is a big part of their net worth. And so, whether people have just their primary home or they have other investment properties or second homes, it's things that, we take into account. And people right now, all the time, they're coming in and this hot button discussion on what's happening with the real estate market. Should I be selling? Is it too late to buy? Did I miss it? We've seen this huge run up in prices. And so I thought this would be beneficial for us to kind of have just a conversation to, talk about what your thoughts are on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. So yeah, like you said, I was in real estate for a little bit over 18 years and then decided 3 years ago to open up my own company in 2019, right before COVID. So it's been quite a ride. It's been very exciting. But I think right now, real estate is just in the media. It's right there as like one of the top conversation pieces. Wherever I go, people ask me the question that you're going to ask me: how's the market? Where do you see it going? And of course, I can give you what my best professional opinion is. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but this time around versus what we've seen in '08, which was the financial crisis, they have a pretty good handle on what's happening. If you follow, I'm coached, I follow a lot of coaches, a lot of real estate gurus and things like that. This scenario is way different than what we've seen in 2008. And I think what the media is feeding off of what that financial crisis in 2008 created, this is 100% different than what is actually happened in 2008. The terms of what happened, I'd like to say back in '08, and I'm sure you can attest to this, was almost a financial perfect storm of what happened. I don't even know if that ever happened in the country as a whole, as long as they've been tracking, that the financial crisis happened, the stock market crashed, the mortgage companies and bankers went out of business, the housing market basically went down. That, like I said, it was just a perfect storm. This is all been supply and demand. And what people are not seeing is yes, we have big increases. First of all, the 2-year span that we went through COVID in any industry, I don't think is a good barometer of anything that has happened in the world.
Certainly.
So I think it was, they had to dump money into the country. They had to lower interest rates to continue to keep people moving. We never stopped a beat, I think, for about a month. So I opened around this time 3 years ago. And then March obviously was the shutdown, and everyone panicked and didn't know what was going to happen. And then real estate became essential. Mm-hmm. So we were considered one of the workers that were able to go back within the month. So I think we shut down in March, and April we were back to selling houses again. And we really have not skipped a beat since. And they started to lower the interest rate, lower the interest rate, lower the interest rate. And then, you had all these millennials jumping into the marketplace, and driven by interest rates, driven just by just the population in general, the millennials coming out. And we created so I was on the news, in NBC News, back in 2012, 13, and we were talking about the inventory issue happening then. Because I go back on videos that I have on YouTube, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this was the same old tune that we've been singing for a really long time. And it just compounded itself and got worse and worse and worse, and now here we are today.
And so with the supply issues, you're talking about the fact that we don't have enough homes for people who are looking.
Correct.
So
yep. So what happened in 2008, what people have to understand is, in order to keep up with supply housing demand, there has to be so many houses built a year. It's like 1 million new construction homes. Well, in '08, when the market crashed, either a builder went bankrupt or they scaled way, way back. and I'm sure that anybody, most people, some of the developments or builders that they seen back then, they don't even exist today. So you have just like, the major players that were able to stay, but they scaled way back. They were gun shy, so they didn't build as many houses as they should have. And that compound effect started back in like '09 once the market started to recoup itself.
Right.
So it's been an ongoing issue for a long time. And then compound that with COVID and the millennial buyer who sat back on the sidelines for such a long time, because most of those millennial buyers were probably in their teenage years when that housing crash happened, and they seen their parents either go bankrupt, unfortunately, or lose a boatload of money in the stock market, or some of them lost their houses. So that millennial buyer sat on the sidelines for a very long time and did not believe in home ownership for a very long time. And as things started to get better and the interest rates started, and they started accumulating wealth of just banking money and had good down payments, then they were like, okay, I'm ready to jump in. The rates were low. It made sense.
Yep.
They had saved a lot of money because they lived in basements with mom and dad for such a long period of time. They had great jobs at that point. The average first-time home buyer is now in their 30s versus their 20s. So it's been a compound effect, needless to say. And that's why we are where we are today. And I like to tell people it's not going to crash. Don't everyone freak out. It seemed like it was a small span where the housing price went up so drastically. The appreciation, it looks like it went, within a 15-month period of time. It really wasn't, because the people that bought in '07, '06, '05, they just recouped their value.
Yep.
And some of them, like we talked about before we got on here, aren't even where they were. But so it really was a 15-year span.
Right.
It's
And
just
we
we
just had
seen
that
it.
accumulation.
We had that accumulation.
It seems like COVID kind of helped to accelerate. We had people moving from the cities who wanted to come out into, more suburban areas, be able to have maybe property, get out of the apartments in the cities and things. So we kind of saw that move, probably also
Exactly.
with interest rates. We're still being low, and we're actually going to be talking with a mortgage expert in one of our next videos, just kind of talking about the fact that while rates are higher than where they've been the last 18 months, they're really not all that high. But again, all of these the low interest rates, people wanting to get out with social distancing and the different things, just really kind of accentuate the issue of supply and demand.
Oh, absolutely. And then, during COVID, everyone started to work at home. And we have the issue that you necessarily don't have to work within 20 minutes of where you don't have to live where you work. Before,
Right.
that was always something that was considered, you wanted to be within a 20, 25-minute drive. Now, you could be in another state and still
Yep,
work
and still
because
have your
so
own
many
business.
jobs went remote. So that's another reason. So it was, people coming out of the city, people needing home offices, wanting to move up. People not having to live where they work anymore. That's a huge thing. And then compound that with the '08 crash and never really building to the demand that needed to be done. Here we are today.
So I guess maybe if we can kind of like circle back to this, because I know we've kind of talked off camera about this. So it's likely that what we're seeing is probably here for the foreseeable future. This is not kind of like a bubble, because we keep hearing about the real estate bubble, that it's going to burst, and then we're going to have this, so that might be the time to wait to buy
Right.
for correction. And when we talk about supply and demand, which we know from my videos, that really rules so much of the economics that happen. I mean, stock market prices are all supply and demand. That's really all that they are. You have more buyers and more sellers in market prices. Well, it's the same thing with real estate.
Absolutely same
and
thing.
so it really seems like for now there is going to be significantly more buyers than we have supply for right now, which is just going to continue to drive prices. So, what's your kind of your advice, or the things that when people say, should I be considering to buy? Should I be considering to sell right now? What would be some of the talking points that you would give people?
Right. So I think as far as a buyer, I still think it's a great time to buy. Like you said, I mean, historically, we're still hovering below 6. Will that go over 6 in the near future? Probably. But if you look at it over a 30, 40-year gap, I mean, it's still considerably it's low.
Yeah. When you're talking about interest rates, right?
When I'm talking about interest
Okay.
rates, yeah. So I mean, I think it's a really good time still to buy. As far as a seller, it's a case by case. I like to tell my clients, whether it's me or another agent, make sure you connect with somebody, sit down, explain your situation. If you have somebody that's going to be really honest with you, then they're going to see what your situation is. It might not be a great time to sell.
Sure.
Most people, 78% of the public refinanced in the last 2 years and have a 2 point, below 3 rate. That's insanity.
Yep.
So it's all case by case. I think it's a great time to buy. I don't think that they should wait because the rate going up is going to outpace anything coming down. It's not going to come down until we can level out something. And they only forecast 5 years, but if you follow Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they're still saying we're going to see increases in housing prices for the next 5 years. Now, what happens after 5 years? If I had a crystal ball, I'd be the wealthiest realtor around.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, I think that these are great points to kind of bring up. And again, that, we hear these buzzwords, we hear the media feeding off of things. So I just thought that it would be really beneficial just to kind of have a local expert come and help to unpack some of these issues that we've discussed. So again, this is Gina Romano with Romano Realty. She's located right here on Mullica Hill. And so I'm sure that if you have specific questions about your current situation, Gina would love the opportunity to be able to kind of go over them with you. Again, I'm Ashley Ross from Victory Fiduciary. I hope that you found today's video to be insightful and beneficial. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Summer School, and we'll see you at the next video. Have a great day.